We'll also get to hear all the grunts I make, all the screaming noises I make while training high intensity that you don't hear when I narrate my videos. Won't be too much of that today because arm wrestling day, which isn't super painful, although side pressure is pretty painful, but in more of a mind-numbing way. Like, I'm not going to scream, but it's internally in the elbow. It's just fucking brutal, man. Still warming up though. Oh man, that's already. Alright, 38 kilos. If you're not into arm wrestling, don't do this shit. It's so painful and it's so bad for your elbows. I can imagine at some point in my life my elbow would be like this, it won't fully open. Right now, my left elbow is hypermobile, extends quite a lot. The right elbow, after how long I've been doing side pressure, maybe a year now, normal elbow now. It used to be like that, right? See the difference? I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's an extra 3 inches of range of motion on that left, which isn't necessarily a great thing. So now I have a normal elbow. It's probably going to get to the point where it's like here. There are people like Devin Lorant, arm wrestlers like Denis Plankov, whose elbows are like fucking gorillas. They walk around like this, like T-Rexes, because their elbows just don't straighten. The worst one's Michael Todd. Until recently, he got stem cell surgery, and all this scar tissue in their elbow, his elbow, he couldn't extend anything past here, and then he couldn't bring his arm past here, so his range of motion was literally like that. He was just fucked. But great arm wrestler. It's funny, one of the most side pressure heavy arm wrestlers, if not the most side pressure heavy arm wrestler, Todd Hutchings, his elbow mobility is actually really good. So I think it depends on the person. Some of the oldest arm wrestlers like John Brzank, 62 years old, been doing it forever, nothing, elbow's fine. So I think it depends on the person, depends on how they train, depends on how their body just reacts to the training. Some people react differently, obviously, and it's a combination of things. It's the ligaments that get all tight and strengthened up, because this movement is all about stability through the ligaments and tendons, right? There's not a whole lot of muscle that can really change your arm. What creates side pressure is internal rotation, so more of a rotator cuff strength, and triceps to an extent. But really what it comes down to is your elbow's tendon and ligament attachment's ability to stay stable throughout the range of motion. Because it's kind of like a bench press. If your triceps can output 150 kilos but your chest can only do 100, well, you're only going to do 100. So the muscles responsible for internal rotation might have 50, 60 kilos of internal rotation pressure, depending on how strong your front delt, pec, rotator cuffs are, triceps, biceps to an extent. But if your elbow attachment, or your elbows, the bones, the ligaments, tendons can only take 50 kilos, then you're not going to get that whole 60, right? So yeah, and that's kind of arm wrestling and in general. Like, if you have, say, 100 kilos of bicep strength, like just some incredible number in bicep strength, but then your wrist can only take 50, well, that's all good and well. You get into the hook, you're hooking a guy, and then all of a sudden he takes your hand and takes all that bicep strength away from you. But that's why I like side pressure so much, because it's demonstrable in the sense that you have Jerry Ketteretz, you have Todd Hutchings, who will give their hand willy-nilly, because once the hand's gone, doesn't matter, that arm is still able to push as much as it can, because the hand isn't really responsible for your ability to press to the side. Obviously, it's better if you can get cupped in and do it, sure. But at the end of the day, like, if your hand goes, it doesn't really matter. If they can't push your arm through that side pressure, as much of this leverage as they might have in your hand, it doesn't matter. And then it's an endurance war with like Jerry Cataract. He'll just fucking sit here, right, with that flop wrist press, and just hold it. He'll just hold it, and there's nothing you can really do unless you're like tremendously stronger and you can press through him. So, yeah, side pressure. I got tiny little hands, you know, I got big palms, but then these fingers, you know, my palms are like that much bigger. You guys might not be able to see me half the time here, but my palm, my fingers, tiny. So I have no hand game, but if I could just push through, be all right. Oh, fuck. Oh, hopefully the audio is good here. For those of you watching who are subscribed or just watching in general, not for the arm wrestling stuff, this might be boring for you, but it might be interesting too because you might not know anything about this. And I'm nowhere qualified to be the guy that introduces people to arm wrestling. I mean, I am in a sense, but not as good as an actual professional arm wrestler who can really break things down effectively with their experience. I've only been in the sport for like, you know, 3 or 4 years. I've barely even arm wrestled a human. I watch it and I do the training. Hopefully Arm Bet will pick off soon. Arm Bet is basically the Tinder for arm wrestlers. It's, you know, you go on the map, there's people around your area, you can meet up and arm wrestle them. There's only one dude within 20 kilometers, there's only one dude around me, and I don't know what happened. We never really met up and had an arm wrestling date. But near me, about maybe an hour's drive away, there's an arm wrestling club that I'll probably start going down to soon. But yeah, if you're watching and you don't know anything about arm wrestling, it's basically an arm wrestling. Side pressure is the fundamental that you start with when you first start, really, when you don't have any technique, which is just push this way, right? And that's what people do, but there's more to it than just that. You know, you push this way, but if you don't go with your hand and you don't engage the right muscles behind it, you just break your humerus bone because it takes fuck all tension for your humerus to snap, right? So what I'm doing here is essentially this, but with more technique behind it and more solidity. I get behind my arm and use my whole frame. I use my shoulders, I use my chest, I get the whole frame behind it so that everything's solid and safe. And yeah, and realistically, when you first start arm wrestling, you shouldn't even be worrying about that. It's, you know, it's your wrist, it's your pronation, it's the hand. You want to learn the hand first because that's what's safer. This shit hurts real bad, as you can see. But after you learn the hand, then you have to assess different, you know, leverages and biomechanics of your own anthropometry. And in my case, short arm, tiny fingers. No way I can outdo some dude's hand who's also 6 foot, because the average hand for a 6 foot man in my weight category would be about 8 inches. My hand's 7, so there's no way I'm beating a dude's hand, or very unlikely. So I've got to work on the first fundamental, which most people start with, without knowing that it's actually not the best idea to start with that. Damn. Painful, but stronger. Getting stronger. This calorie surplus. I've gained 6 kilos over my maintenance. This week I'm gonna, a lot of this is water weight, and you know, I weighed myself today. It was more like 4 or 5 kilos, but too much. Did it too quick. Especially being as ectomorphic as I am. and being as not lean as I got, because I didn't get shredded. I got like lean, but not, not lean, not as lean as I'd like to be before I started bulk. The leaner you are before you start the bulk, the better, because then you have a longer bulk period. But I'm going to do a lean main gain, sort of lean bulk this bulking season. Probably going to bulk for 3 or 4 months because I don't have enough body fat percentage to work with. I'm easily 14-15% body fat right now. The max I want to get to is 20. So I'm going to do a short lean bulk this time around because I fucked up the maintenance phase. Just the different life circumstances that made me pass. It was a big one. But, yeah, I'm all good with that anyway because it's spring right now. So I don't really want to be bulking through summer for 6 months. So short bulk to the tail end of spring, early summer, and then it's going to be a sort of maybe a maintenance phase from there, or like a very, I don't know, I'm not totally sure yet. I think I'll either do the slow 3 to 4 month bulk and then a pretty quick month or 2 cut, and that way through autumn then I'll start a long bulk, autumn to through winter next year. I'll do a long bulk, and that's the plan. Probably make a video about this. Making a video about this will help too, because with the video it holds me accountable for my word, and it sets the precedent for my mindset, the prerequisites to go, that's what I'm doing. Cool. A lot of people don't hold themselves accountable hard enough, and making a video about for the public to see really holds you accountable. So that's probably going to be the plan. I'll flush it out more as I go though. But this week I'm going to be in a slight deficit just to get some of this weight off that I fucked up for the maintenance phase. Alright, one more set. Oh my goodness, it hurts. It's weird training without music. Music's really good. I don't know how the other guys do it. I mean, I don't really watch anyone else that does these series. You know, you got the Sam Sulek, whatever his name is, the roid head, and then yeah, I think that's the main guy. There's probably a shit ton of people doing it now, but I don't know how they talk and listen to music at the same. Maybe they don't listen to music, because a lot of these guys probably do volume. And the thing is with volume, you're not getting intense anyway, so you don't even fucking need music for volume. It's just, if anything, you'd want to listen to like some long drawn out symphony for your 2-3 hour long fucking stupid ass workouts. I like to get in here, I like to get it done in 20-30 minutes. And I like to listen to metal when I do it, because it keeps the focus and intensity there. And you need a big fucking repertoire of music for volume, right? Because I mean, that's what I used to do. And I got burnt out with my music. I didn't have enough music for the amount of fucking hours a day I was working out. Spending 2.5 hours in the gym. I don't even have like enough metal bands to by the time I get to the 3rd day of training, I've exhausted my metal list. So that's one of the good things about high intensity, is you don't need as much music taste, because your workouts are shorter. So you don't burn out, because that was a big thing too. Like, I remember there was a period there where I was doing Bulgarian training, which is when basically you're doing 1 rep max every single day of the same fucking lift. And the big problem was, it was fine because it's a short workout, right? But the problem is, I kept using songs to get me amped up for the lift, and after a while, didn't have enough songs. It was kind of like a drug. It's like I would use a certain song to get me maxed out, and then I'd use it the next day because it works really well. I'd use it the next day, and by the 4th day, it kind of lost its power. Certain songs like "Raining Blood" from Slayer, for example, that breakdown where it gets really heavy. It's fucking excellent for 1 rep maxes, but if you're using these same songs over and over again, they kind of lose their adrenaline fueling power. Sort of like heroin, right? If you take heroin, first time it's fucking excellent. The 60th time you're seeing babies on the ceiling and you're fucking, screaming and shit. So Um, yeah, don't know where I was going with that, but basically music, high intensity. You need music for high intensity, so I'm going to have to figure out if I decide to keep doing this format for video. But so far I'm enjoying it. It allows me to flow my verbal flow a bit better. Oh my god. Fucking hell. The next thing I just thought about was, because I don't do stupid volume days, except for a few exceptions on exercises that I'm still trying to get neuromuscular adaptations on, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time in between sets to really talk, because I just move on to the next exercise, because I'm smart and don't do volume. So, I guess we'll see. Yeah, really, side pressure training, which is what I just did, is the only thing one of the only things I do volume on, meaning numerous sets, not taken to failure. And the only reason I do that for side pressure is, one, I'm still relatively new to it. I've only been doing it for a year, so there's a lot of linear progression to be made. And two, my elbows aren't conditioned enough to take a set to failure, because it's just too excruciatingly painful, dangerous, and yeah, so really don't know how it's going to work, but we'll see. Ooh, shit. Fuck. Drop set. This movement's great for really targeting the wrist. I mean, the whole thing, right? I mean, it's super fat grip, so not gripping too much with the fingers, because obviously the strap's taking away from that, and this is emulating arm wrestling in the straps, which is basically, if you don't know what that means, is when you get an arm wrestle, right, with the other dude, people slip out, they'll intentionally or unintentionally get out of the grip, and then they strap your hands together, basically. So this here emulates that sensation of not having to worry too much about the hand, but really worrying about pushing through the palms and the wrist strength. Because obviously you got the finger strength, right? Someone can open your hand. That's less important than the strap. It's more about your ability to really go through the lower hand and wrist. So it's great for that kind of thing. And then the next fat grip variation you'll see in a second is for the fingers, more for if you're in just a like straight up arm wrestle trying to contain your fingers, someone trying to top roll your fingers. Feels too light. What's going on there? Oh, okay. Oh, that was 22. I went too heavy, but I got way stronger apparently. So that alone, forearms pumped, probably enough stimulus to grow decent forearms just from that. But because I'm also training for sport, I've got to train all the different sport-specific vectors. Got to work on my fingers too, so then I move on to a new movement. But for the average person, not trying to hold hands with other men, this would pretty much suffice right there. Set to failure, a few force reps, drop set. Damn, my fucking flexors are pumped. Keep checking my laptop to see what weights, reps I'm at, but it's disconnected from the internet, so I have to fucking take it inside. I keep forgetting to take it inside because it's outdated. The sheet is showing me reps from, sessions ago, so even in the fucking camera, probably not. Anyway, it's showing me reps from sessions ago, so I don't even know quite where I'm at right now. I could run inside. I might run inside and check where I'm at. Might even take the laptop in with me and just take a second. Very cool. Turns out the next exercise didn't save at all. So I'm at square one, trying to figure out where I am on it. That's all good. Whatever. Just a quick tip. If you want a rolling handle, a handle that rolls in your hand, pretty simple, and you want a fat grip one, you could get one of those fucking ones that costs like $150 or whatever, because they can make it that price. It's not worth that much metal, right? But they can make it that price because it's just a pretty niche thing. Rather than doing that shit, because that's very fucking shitty, just put a fat grip on a pre-existing one. This handle costs like $20, right? It wasn't even that, only like $10. And just put a fat grip on it. And rather than being a silly goy, you can be a smart goy. Last time I need to figure out what the fuck's going on with my spreadsheets on my laptop. Booyah. Quick rest pause. Not a rest pause, force reps, fuck it. Very pumped. Very, very forearm pumped. Ah, fuck. Smack me knee. Whoa. Okay. This variation I might drop because originally it was used for adherence because I wasn't really enjoying arm wrestling training much. Well, at least I wasn't enjoying. I was in a certain period mentally where was having a hard time training due to numerous factors, and that's part of why I love high intensity so much, is especially back then. You know, right now, if you made me do a volume workout, I could do it. It's stupid, I wouldn't do it because it's inferior, but I could do volume now. Back then, I definitely couldn't do volume just because of my mental place. So high intensity was the cure. So I started doing high intensity as an experiment to be like, well, can't train right now, so let me just do high intensity. Let me do the bare minimum amount of time in the gym. That way I can train. And lo and behold, now I'm much more motivated, much mentally stronger, but I'm not going back to volume because high intensity was actually better anyway. And same thing went for this. I started doing these double pronation variation because I didn't want to spend extra time doing it unilaterally, which is superior for arm wrestling, because in arm wrestling you don't arm wrestle two arms, you train one, you compete against one arm. So it makes most sport-specific sense and most proprioceptive sense to train one arm at a time. You're also stronger when you use one arm because you can focus more on the central nervous system on one area. So I started doing these because it just saves time, but they're not as effective as if I do it one arm at a time. So last day of doing these, and then I'm going to switch it over to unilateral because I have the mental fortitude to spend a bit more time training now. That's part of why I built that PVC pronating pipe that you see on the other arm wrestling days. But for you guys out there, again, don't care about arm wrestling, do it two arms at a time because it saves time rather than doing one arm at a time. Oh, am I on camera? Who knows? Oh, fuck. That hurts. In a good way. Scheiße. Lift standardization a lot. And it's easier for me to explain now that I'm doing live action. When let's say this new movement I'm about to just do, if this rope was any taller or any shorter, it would be unstandardized. So let's say today I do it from this height, right? I'm going to do this back pressure lift, yeah? If one day I'm standing back slightly, right, I'm not standing right there, now all of a sudden it's a totally different thing. And it's that much harder, it's that much easier. If I stand too close over it, now it's easier. If it isn't totally in the exact same hand position as every single time, so let's say one week I accidentally put it over here, that much harder now. There are so many things that go into standardizing a lift, and if it's not damn near perfect, you're going to falsely progress or regress, and you're going to think that there's something really good in your training when there's not, or you're going to think there's something really bad about your training when there's not. So it's very important that every lift is standardized, unless it's like a very accessory lift, like say, a secondary lift. Like yesterday I did accessory day, I did side neck extensions, where it's fucking unbelievably difficult to standardize that lift because there's so many different little nuances. So with that one, I just kind of loosely progress it. Over time, if it's getting noticeably stronger at that weight, then I up the weight. But for things that are really important, like super strength lifts, super important or very standardized strength lifts, like bench press, squats, etc., it's very important everything stays exactly the same. That's why I don't like super technical lifts too, because technical lifts can change week to week depending on your central nervous system's efficiency that week. You know, you had a coffee before that workout, and now that central nervous system can really fire everything correctly. The next week you're tired, you didn't have a coffee, you only had 5 hours sleep. You're as strong as you are, technically the muscle fibers can output the same force, but your central nervous system can't because it's not aligning everything correctly. So standardization is very important, and this is a good example of that. So this is how I'm going to standardize it. Good. Just warming up. Warming up. I'm also just trying to figure out what weight I'm going to do here. So I'm going to try and find a 1 rep max, and then I'm going to do a back off set of kind of a whatever weight it is and max it out 6 to 8 reps and work within that range for this back pressure lift. So obviously I already trained biceps on like Thursday, it's Saturday right now, and you know I trained my brachiosaurus and everything. So I'm only going to do the right arm, and this is just like a, you know, I'm mentally blanking here, but basically trying to get better at this short range of motion, because in an arm wrestle it's your ability to hammer curl a dude is very, very important. See, again, I wasn't standardized. I wasn't doing everything the way it's supposed to be. That's a perfect example of that. I was bending over, it was a shorter range of motion, has to be exactly the same every time, especially in arm wrestling where the nuances are very small. Okay, so the idea here is I lift from straight, get it all the way up to the point where it's got no longer any resistance curve. That might have been the 1 rep max. Let's see how 70 kilos goes. Obviously not 70 kilos. That'd be some sort of fucking record. This is a half stack because it's half cable. Was it. Oh, alright, last exercise. Fucking hot today, a lot of flies. Spring in Australia right now. Hay fever's through the roof. Feeling a bit of bicep tendonitis from doing that heavy hammer curl. Hopefully it doesn't pursue throughout the next few days or whatever, because I don't really train biceps until next Thursday. I do back day on Monday, which is 2 days from now. So if that's a problem, I might not do that movement, I don't know. But hopefully it's alright, because that felt good. Everything felt good there, apart from feeling a slight sort of, feels tender on the tendon. Alright, reverse forearm curls to finish off the flexors. Fuck. Oh, yeah. Cool, that's it. I don't know if it's coming up on the camera, but my forearms and hands are looking extremely vascular. So that's cool. That's it, yeah. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe some feedback. Don't have enough subscribers for a lot of comments yet, obviously, but if you guys like this sort of style of content more than the post-training narration, let me know. I might start doing a mix. On certain days it might be hard because I do like my metal, I do like my music. So, you know, on leg days and maybe chest day, I might do the post-workout narration, but then on arm wrestling days and other stuff where the metal isn't as important, or if I can figure out how to talk while I have, you know, Phil Anselmo screaming in my ear or Dimebag Darrell shredding in my ears, then maybe I can do it. I don't know. It is nice having the speakers though, to be fair, and obviously copyright problems, but you know. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys for more Piss and Vinegar Monday.